Welcome everybody to our talk. Today we are going to share some secrets about our learning in transforming homegate into a user-centric company. So the first secret will be held by Yves.
Yeah, sure. Cheers. So actually you found out already by Timon telling you, you went to the coolest room. First secret ahead, so that's great. You know about homegate. So it is a cash cow, yes. It is a cash cow because it's around for 15 years. So imagine that it's really an internet dinosaur, kind of. And I think it worked this way because the founders, they really hit this great sweet spot where you really try to connect one user group, so people like you looking for homes, with suppliers, so it can be landlords or agencies. And this really worked well for homegate, and also the core search is something, you know, where we're number one, everybody uses it, it's great. But then as time progressed, you know, we kind of hit a problem, and the problem really was that only few people would use additional products. So people would stay in this little corner of our product, which is the core search, but they wouldn't really try out other features. And yeah, like when Enea and I, we started, we had to be like super blunt with everybody. And you know, in the end, it's no secret, we all fall in love with our ideas, right? So if we have an idea, we want to do it. And also our engineers, our PMs, they are super smart, but maybe they're a bit too smart. So we had to tell the truth, they're a bit too smart to build products for the average users. So in the end, what does it mean? Well, we did some user testing, you know, so we listened to our users, we checked prototypes, etc. We got feedback from them. But what we really failed was actually understanding our users, so empathizing with them. What's the situation they're in? You know, why do they decide stuff like that? So not just the what, but really the understanding the why. And I think, yeah, we also did a bit of a mistake that we outsourced this research to external agencies. So you have all these great people talking to users, but then, you know, it's outside of the company. And we really wanted it to get inside our heads. So what you could do instead of, you know, relying on agencies or just doing prototyping in front of some random users, try really on an individual level to connect engineers, like UX people if you have them, testers, and have a dry run with them. So we call this user cafe. Basically, you invite just 4 users, you put them in a room, and you prototype some products with them. It's really to learn and for engineers or testers to understand how you interview users. When you have that, people, you know, they lost the fear, they're ready, and you can take it to the next level and scale it up to the teams. So if you scale it to teams, you could run design sprints with them. So this is also a process 5 days. You start with interviewing users, you come up with ideas, you prototype it, and then you test it. And it's super nice because it's all time boxed and you can have teams really kickstarted. So they're really like up for the challenge. When it comes to the company level, so really try to scale it up also with strategy. I will show you later how, but really this is important. It has to be in your DNA of your company in order that that works. Because if you want to have agile teams that make decisions on their own, they have to understand how this works. Yeah, but maybe step 1, you know, we talked about individuals. So, I mean, a year ago we hired this guy. So how did you do it?
Well, thanks for an introduction again. Well, I clearly remember my first day in homegate. It was basically, I entered the company, they gave me the laptop, and they say, okay, go, do UX. I say, all right. So, and this is a picture from Google Images of what is a user experience design in a mindset of a company, of people in a company that are without a UX culture. And it's really chaotic. So what you want to do is actually find out what is the perception of a user experience designer, what this user experience designer can do for your company. So how to do that? Well, you have to ask a lot of questions to all the stakeholders and team members to find out what is really the concept of a UXer. With that, you will achieve a couple of things. First, you will start by this question, driving people from feature-driven approach to a problem-driven approach. And a second thing that you will achieve is to be the most annoying person in the company, but they will remember you at least. With that, we wanted to even organize or continue to organize the user cafe to make all the stakeholders get in touch with the users. Right, but what is a user from the perspective of an internal employee or from your colleagues? Well, that's another good question. So there was no common understanding of what is a user for us. So you want to gather the internal knowledge using proto-personas. Proto-personas are different from personas. Personas usually are based on long studies, but since you are the only UX designer in the company just hired, you have even to be productive. We decided to go with the proto-personas. Proto-personas, they are different from normal personas because they are based on assumptions. And since we had a really, really great people in our company that knew more or less what the user were, so I sent out the framework of creating this proto-persona that, by the way, I will share it in the product UX channel, intermediate UX Slack channel. You all free to join that. And once you get back the framework compiled of proto-personas, your task is to cluster them to make easy digestible, I would say. So once we reached what is a user from the internal perspective, you ask a lot of questions, you survived. You know more or less what is the perception of a user. You work with your stakeholders and team members, which is one of the most important things. What is missing? The problem. What kind of problem are you going to solve with all this knowledge? Well, to whom you have to ask, which are to your actual employer, which are the users, right? So, and how you do it? By actually knocking them door.
Yeah. It was really that creepy. I mean, we literally knocked on people's doors.
Luckily, I didn't use the shiny picture. So what we did was to explore the real experience of the users. In this case, finding a house. So how we achieved that? We used the proto-personas to start recruiting the user based on our knowledge or our assumptions. And we went to their house, like inside the house, giving them tasks, asking a lot of questions again. And after that, this is, by the way, called in jargon contextual interview. And after that, we really knew what was the experience. The experience of finding a house in Switzerland is painful. And we discovered really some opportunities in there. So, but the real magic that we perceived was when we did the contextual interview, we invited developers, we invited POs, we invited even QAs, and we went to users. And that was really magic because we empathized too much. Well, not too much, there's not too much, but. Naya, goody. So now you have all the insights of the experience. How do you communicate them? Well, there are different ways. There are presentations, board, meetings, SMS, or actually you can print a big fascinating board, banana for scales. So you print this board, like this is 3 meters per 2 meters, and you hang it where people can see it, like, I don't know, corridor or stuff, so they will start seeing and they will start socializing with that. Right, arrive at this point, you will ask yourself, yeah, okay, good, but how do you use it? Well, this question is our last secret, and Yves will tell us about.
Cool, cheers. So yeah, really, now you heard the user story, right? So what it's about business, what's about product. And that's the cool thing in this huge talking or like fascinating board.
Good.
you will have really a lot of opportunities identified. So users' pain points. And usually, if you have the chance to have one of these users' pain points and match it with one of your business goals, you will have a product that people like to use, and also in business you're going to be successful. So we use that also to solve this problem here, because we've been around for 15 years. We couldn't see the trees for the wood or for the forest, and it was really hard for us also prioritizing our initiatives. So by using this board, it helped us, and it's still vague. I mean, we talked about 16 users, so that's no quantitative research, it's really qualitative. So what can you do as a next step? Really take this as an assumption. So take up all your assumptions you have within the company as well, make them explicit, and really try to start testing the riskiest one. You can do some more prototyping, you can do A/B tests, whatever, but try to really get some clarification. Try to find out what's the real thing that is missing. So again, where we failed was, we have this strategy and we're going to roadmap the whole year. And yes, it's cool for stakeholders, but does it really work for the whole company? Does it really work, again, for these agile teams that they want to make their decisions on their own? Not really. So we switched, and we would also recommend for you guys to use more like an agile approach. It's called we called it, what did we call it? The opportunity backlog, exactly. So kind of trying to make it tangible, what you can actually do to achieve this strategy. So instead of time boxing it, like you do in a roadmap, you try to prioritize it. And always when you have a decision in the team, you take up this opportunity backlog and try to discuss with the team, is it now really worth solving this other small feature or bringing alive this other small feature compared to the bigger one you have, maybe that brings your strategy forward. So this is the discussion you guys should have with your teams. And again, also when we communicate the strategy, yes, the town hall meeting is great. People will say, I understood it, that's fine. But really, in order to the people execute in it, try to be a bit more diplomatic, try shuttling. So that's the thing, you go from group to group. So we did it on purpose, we mixed some agile teams, and we tried really to communicate the strategy to them so that they can ask questions. People feel much more relaxed than in a big room like this, so many people staring at you. They will just ask questions freely if they're in a smaller group. So that was great, and we could iterate on the strategy because we're not all knowing. We basically have to rely on feedback. So that was it, mostly from our talk. So maybe just the reason why we did this talk, we wanted to connect with you guys really, because we tried to share some secrets, we could try to give something to you. Also, later on, we're going to post some materials, some templates you can use. So this assumption board we talked about, the experience map, templates and how to run the interviews to get your teams up and running. But what we really like to have is also your feedback or maybe your secrets, things that worked for you. And to do that, you can reach out to us in person. But what would be really great if you would use the product and UX channel or product-UX. It's on Tamedia Slack. And just, whatever format, whatever version, even if it's a draft, just share it and show what worked for you so we can exchange a bit more knowledge here in Tamedia. Because again, we have got so many great people, not just at Homegate, but at Tamedia. So let's really connect and share and tell us your secrets in product and UX.